Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Survivor Social, the Survivor podcast where we discuss Survivor with a focus on the social elements of the game. My name is Tegwith, and as always, we have a great episode lined up for you today. Kara, my incredible co-host, is here. How are you doing today, Kara?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. Happy to be talking Survivor.
Incredible. And as you can see, if you're watching, we do have an incredible guest with us, the king of Survivor Twitter himself, Brandon Donlon. Brandon, what is up? How are you today?
I'm so happy. Banu wished for a miracle, and the miracle is that I'm here. And I'm thrilled to be here. This is what he wanted. This is what we wished for on the island. So
this is actually what he was like, I really hope Brandon is able to cover my episode on Survivor Social. And I heard him say that on the show.
Yeah. If there's a bad contestant in season 45, I hope he's just the one who recaps it for season 46. And you know what? He got his wish, which is what we all want.
So how are you how are you feeling so far about overall about 46, Brandon?
I like it. People are very down. People are very upset. Like, it's just, my particular program, everybody was very out on the first episode. Like, they were like, this is pretty bad. And then the second was like, okay. The third is when we hit the gas. I wasn't there, but it got really good after the third episode. Don't read into that. But we got to let's just wait. We can hit the gas at a certain point. And we just haven't maybe gotten there yet. But I've really enjoyed, we get very, very little insight into the other two tribes, but what we have seen from them, I'm interested in. I think this season picks up a ton when somebody else goes to tribal council, which, I mean, maybe is probably not next week. They're going to go again. But if they don't, I think that's when we shift into, like, somebody I think I read on Reddit was like, this is the end of episode 1. Like, this feels like we're just ending the premiere, so now it's like, let's just see what else, and if you hate that, like, if you hate what this turns into, then you don't like the season. But, like, let's just give it a shot. Let's just, we don't have to be premature. Nobody likes to be premature. That's I've always said that. So
absolutely, I think you hit the nail on the head, at least in my opinion. Kara, I didn't get to talk to you last week. How are you feeling about 46 with the last 2 episodes?
Yeah, I feel like the first episode, it started out really strong, and I was like, I'm loving everyone. I'm loving it. The second one, the third one, I feel like I still like it. I'm enjoying all the people, but I feel like my feelings changed a little bit. Maybe it's just the editing. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Something about it changed a little bit. But, like, I'm not out. I'm still going to watch. I'm still, like, enjoying it. I'm excited to see where it's going to go from here, though. I feel like we've seen a lot of Yanu, and we need to see more of the other tribes doing things.
Absolutely. And one thing that I will say is something that I remembered this morning, essentially, was that they did not, with 45, they knew it was going to be 90-minute episodes. So they went in production. And I didn't really realize maybe how important knowing how long the episode actually was. Because, like, you're out on Survivor, of course it's going to be content. But I feel like we're kind of seeing them not actually knowing that they were going to get 90 minutes. Because, and we'll talk about this later, we saw every single tribe read tree mail, which I feel like has not happened since, like, season 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it's because maybe my new little conspiracy theory is that they didn't really know, that they were going to get 90 minutes. So they have to prep for 60. Because you can't tell a story. It's harder to condense. It's easier to expand. So that's kind of why I think that I totally agree with you. Like, a lot of these things we're seeing, like, the episode, or this is almost like 1 episode or maybe 2 episodes. But my little conspiracy theory is that it's because they didn't know that it was going to be 90 minutes. They had an idea that maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And even, like, 90 minutes gives us, like, fun scenes. Like, people said, like, the Ben and Charlie, like, Taylor Swift Metallica thing was, like, maybe a skosh too long, but I had a lot of fun the whole time. I think we never, in a 60-minute episode, we never get to see Mariah learn how to jump. I think that's hysterical. I mean, that's, like, incredible. I watched it, like, a viewing party yesterday. Everybody was cracking up laughing. Like, that's, like, a good classic Survivor scene. Like, did we get a lot more Banu than we normally would have in a 60-minute episode? For sure. Like, and then we had the 2-hour, like, the 2-hour second episode did not need to be 2 hours.
Not necessary.
Really, if there's any critique in terms of the edit or any of the episode structures, Medevac and Banu should be the same episode.
It should be 1 episode.
Like, there's no reason for it to happen 2 episodes. Obviously, they have to fill a schedule, what have you, and they already have built in to what they're going to do, what mechanics are going to happen at which time. So, like, is there a double boot at the merge? Is there a double wherever? Like, we don't know. But that's the kind of stuff that already is built in, and you can't really split it up that way retroactively.
Mhm.
But to have a 90-minute episode end in a medevac just sucks. Like it's not super fun. I thought that the content in the episode was good, but it's like when you watch Survivor, like again, tangent, but the season 41, when they do the hourglass and they end the episode on the cliffhanger, that's not what Survivor is. Like the Survivor is you get the instant gratification after every episode. And a medevac just feels like not fun. Like if you have a medevac like Bruce, you stack the episodes, you do something like Bruce, is it Bruce and then Maddie? I would prefer something like that. And I think that kind of, there hasn't been like a move yet. Like there hasn't been like a thing that so we had the Sabai and the Wax Idol for my thing. Like we haven't had that yet. So I hope that we get there at some point. And we have to be close, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be this.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because this cast is too good. I mean, these people are bringing it. And even if, like half of them haven't even been to tribal yet, I still feel like I'm seeing the potential to have it be brought. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I definitely think it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
And not for anything, they all hate each other. Like, they are all so mad at each other. Like it has to get really good at some point. We're just only seeing a group of 6, then 5, then 4 people who don't like each other. Like the other 2 tribes. I mean, granted, Sigas, they're having a party. They're on a different show. But like, I cannot wait for the eventual Nami tribal council, and I hope we get it. Like I really do hope we get it because they hate each other. Like that's the tribe that you yearn to see go to tribal council. Like Tandang in Philippines, they never go in the pre-merge, but you just want them to go because they hate each other.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we dig into the episode further, let me just remind everyone who's watching, make sure to like and subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. And then just as a reminder, we're having really fun talking about all of this stuff. The comments are live. If you have any questions, we always get to questions after the commercial, but please, talk with us. We love it. But let's dig into the episode. We start off back at Yanu, right? When, like I said, it almost feels like Jeff leaves and then they start the episode, which I thought was very interesting. Almost felt like that could have been, this whole scene could have been added on to last week's episode almost, but Banu immediately tells everybody about spilling everything on the trip, which I love his honesty. I love that he's there to tell his people what's happening, but maybe not the best move for Banu.
Yeah, really a bad move, a bad, objectively not a good move. And what I agree with that I saw some people saying on Reddit and on Twitter is like telling everybody, if you're leaving that night, like obviously Banu can't predict a medevac and you are mad at your tribe, like it makes sense. Like throw a Hail Mary. You don't know what the journey challenge is going to be. Like I understand that. And in a bubble, I think that's fine. Doing this when you are saved is not great. Not something I would tell somebody to do, but bad. I guess I'm gonna just leave it on that.
Yeah. Kara, what did you think about that moment?
It was just so unnecessary. Like he just didn't need to do all of that. Even like in the last episode when he came back, I think he didn't say anything at first and then he started talking a little bit. And that was kind of like this. Like you just don't have to say everything. You could just take a seat. You don't have to, just relax. Like you're good.
Absolutely. And I think this goes to a little bit, which we, see later on in the episode where Q is literally coaching Banu. And Banu even refers to Q as coach. And it's like he's taking him step by step on what to do if Jeff asks this, what to do if somebody who's not in your alliance asks this, which I feel like might be something that has happened on previous seasons of Survivor, but it's something that the fans definitely have not seen. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of what happened, because then it also led to the Kenzie and Banu fight essentially. And I thought that whole thing was really interesting. Brandon, was that something that happened on your season where people talked about the best strategy or how to improve their social game?
I mean, you have the Caleb and Emily situation where Caleb very clearly took Emily under his wing and kind of helped her kind of see the light in terms of, and I just got distracted because listen, I can go get it. I'm right in here in my bathroom. Let's save that for the end, Slutchworth. I think that does happen often. But what I think is super interesting about Banu, not to circle back to the delivery of the information in terms of telling the tribe, oh, I told the other tribes about you guys on the journey. It's not so much that that is really hard to recover from in general, but the way that Banu delivers the information where he is clearly worried and is clearly like emotional about it, like that is not making it better. In fact, it probably makes it worse. Like if you go in and kind of you're poker faced about it, not even poker faced, but you just aren't as emotional and say like, I did something, I regret it. Like let's move forward. It's still a bad move, but I think it's a better move than all of what transpired.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you guys have ever worked in hospitality, but the one thing I learned really early on in my job is and this is a thing that I do, I apologize for a lot of the things. And I know I shouldn't apologize for like breathing, but that's something I do. And as someone who talks with guests a lot, one thing that I had to get out of my system a lot is whenever I had to change something, like, you know what, I would always say, I'm sorry, we don't have 8:15, but we can do 8:45. If I say I'm sorry and I start off with saying I'm sorry, then something is wrong. Then something is bad. And that the guest is like, well, why can't you do this for me? Why can't you do this for me? But if you spin it and you say, oh, actually, we've got an 8:45 time for you. How does that work for your group? It's like, oh, we're busy and this is going to be a better time for you and your group. And it's just how it's presented. And obviously in Survivor, perception is reality. And so you have to make sure, and you can't do this all the time, but like that you're saying, you know what, it's good. I'm doing what I'm doing is good, and use that like psychology on people a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
And because you're totally right. He was like, I did a bad thing. I did this bad thing. And then if you say I did a bad thing, then people are gonna be like, yeah, that's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. There's no solution after the bad thing. It's like you deal with it. And that's like when you're already kind of in a position that Banu is in, the last thing that anybody on that tribe wants to do is like have another thing they got to worry about, you know? And like, who's to say this doesn't absolutely destroy the other three people's games? Like it very well could have. Like Banu could have taken Yanu down with it, you know, and we don't know. And I hope not, because that just seems like it's a shitty way to go out. But you know, it is all of this was bad. Like it's not, and you know, it's a bad situation.
I will say I loved Kenzie's, why didn't he just go camping?
Yes.
Her one-liners are incredible.
So great. And then was it Tiff said the volunteer? Like the volunteer line was very good. Or was that Kenzie?
I can't remember.
It was Tiffany.
That was Tiffany. Yeah, that was it. That was a very funny
so
line.
Funny.
I love their one-liners are really honestly very good. Like, don't make the block hot. Like all of these things that they're saying, I think are incredible.
Don't make the block hot is so good that it seems like it was written before she got there. Like that, it's a beautiful, like, and it was so beautiful in the moment. Like, and I love, like, some of my favorite Survivor moments of yore are like just small lines like that are like just I remember forever. And that's like such a good, and it was delivered perfectly at the right time. The camera angle was beautiful. You know, I could go on.
It's such a good line that I felt like it was like, I felt like it was like, yeah, that's a saying I've said before. And then I actually think about it. I'm like, no, wait, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah.
But I knew exactly what she was talking about. And I'm like, I need to use this in my day-to-day life. It's incredible.
And I don't think anybody's used. I think now it's on us to take it and make it something, because
I think it is.
She you know, she lit it up for us.
We'll take that burden.
Sign us up.
Now, Brandon, tree mail. I know I talked about this a little bit earlier. Everyone did tree mail. Is that something? Tree mail is a thing that has been happening this entire time. Like when I say entire time, like old school, new new era. It always happens. We just haven't seen it in a while, right?
The whole time. I mean, we got I think Emily and I went and got it for the one that I left. I forget. Maybe we all got it for the first episode. But it's there. It's you go and you read the little scroll. It's like, it's, you know, it's super cool, and it's super cool to see it in person. It's like, oh my God, it's tree mail. I noticed that they were letting one tribe read it, which is abnormal, and then they all did. And as you said, and I was like, oh, that's weird. That doesn't seem like, you know, that was, you know, I don't think I've seen that in years. Like the seasons that were released officially on DVD. Like it was, you know, season 8, 9, 10. Like it's one of those, you know, it's
Kara, do you think because this is something that I felt this episode, obviously not a lot of people loved it, right? It wasn't like people's highest episode, but I did leave this episode feeling like it almost felt like classic old school Survivor. Obviously not by the end of it, but like we knew where the vote was going. It was very straightforward. We saw a lot of things around camp. Did you feel like that at all throughout this episode?
Yeah, maybe like the beginning of the episode, like the first half, for sure. It had good vibes in the beginning, but then it kind of went
downhill after that. But
it was, sorry, one other thing. Like, I feel like if Banu didn't just come out and spill everything, that he might have been able to potentially save himself with Kenzie maybe going home, because it seemed like that was like kind of a plan in the works maybe, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
he
play with
quickly
that a little bit. Do
squashed
we
that.
think if he didn't say it right then and there, and everything in the episode stays pretty much the exact same, where Yanu wins reward, but then Yanu then loses the immunity challenge. What do we think? Do we think that it would have still been Banu, or do we think that there could have been a world in which Kenzie went home? Brandon, what do you think about that?
I do think, like, I mean, you're there for all day, every day. This is a couple days of space in between. Like, I mean 2 days, but you can recover. Like, Banu could, in a ideal world, recover. Like Emily. I mean, Emily was only 4 days in when she kind of had her turn, but like Emily recovered. Like, it is possible to be in that situation and kind of turn your thing around. And if Banu had a epiphany where he was like, oh, you know what, I went on this journey, I felt super bad about potentially leaving, and then now I feel good, and he's like in it with Q, and he's like, look, I'm not good at this, but you are, and like, I don't have a vote, which kind of sucks, but like, let me help you for this round, and let's see what happens after that. I think that in a feasible world could have worked, but I think Banu was just so somewhere else to where, like, giving that information away is like, okay, so what do we have? What is the benefit now of having you stay over Kenzie? Like, you are this unpredictable and this, and I hate using emotional, because I feel like, it's a good thing to be emotional in Survivor. Like to a degree, you don't want to be overly emotional, but you have to give empathy and to give care to some people. That's how you get far, and that's how you win. That's how you make people trust you. So being emotional, fine. Where Banu is maybe a little bit exceeding where you should be, like a baseline level. But it is a situation that I do think, recovery was possible. It just, like, after that, I don't think there's any way. I think after that conversation, he is out the first second that they go. Even if they won that immunity challenge, he's out the next round. And he would be out in emergatory, but that's not great.
Kara, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think if he didn't end up saying that, I think they would have gone back and forth with them, and I think there would have been more suspense to the episode. I think it would have been possible that Kenzie would have maybe ended up going home. I think that would have been a good move for them to maybe get her out, because I do think going forward she's going to be a threat and might not be the best for them. But once he just told them everything he said, then it was just over. There's really no point in keeping him around if he's just going to go spilling everything like that.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. So I really loved one thing I talked a lot about in last week's episode. I loved Q's when he verbalized the, like, liability versus threat. I think that was one of the best. I don't know. I just thought it was such a good, like, observation, such a good thing to say. And I loved that whole discussion, because I think it's a very important discussion to have. Like, do you want to keep the threat? Do you want to keep, like, a liability? But I will say, in maybe new era a little bit, maybe new school also, people really like to get out the people that they consider, like, threats really early on, which I think is super interesting, because I don't know if either of you watched Australian Survivor, but we saw somebody who was a very big threat go very far because they kept somebody they used like a shield. And I think that we're not really seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we're not seeing people use shields as much, because the big threats, the quote unquote threats, a lot of them are getting voted out really early on. Like Sabaya, huge threat, voted out. I think she would have been a great shield. She was physical, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think she would have been a great shield, but we're getting these threats out early on. What do you think about that? Like, getting these big people out, like, early on, because you worry about them come merge.
I think that, like, now, like, Jeff and the show as a whole, because it's 26 days, because it's like this new era, is like, you got to go fast. You got to move fast. Like, this is over before it starts, which I think gives the folks impulse to, like, we got to pull trig now, like, because it'll be too late. And I feel like we've kind of overcorrected, where we're, like, maybe a little too early, and we could, like, give it, like, the Sabaya case is a different situation, just because of the whole throwing a Caleb's name. But I do agree that, like, you have folks who could, Banu could take out, Q could take out Kenzie right now. And that's a huge move, because Kenzie can gun it once she gets to a group of bigger people. Kenzie's charming. You see Kenzie with Banu after they have the argument, and then goes in and swoops in and then makes Banu feel better. The time that Banu looked like he felt the best this whole time is after that conversation. And I think that, for Q, that's a good move to maybe Axe. But I think that Q obviously made the right move here. I don't think that there was a lot of wiggle room that any of them had, Q, Kenzie, or Tiff. But I do like that move for the future. And I feel like maybe, 47, 48, we'll see that overcorrection kind of lean the other way.
Well, let's move past the Yanu beach, because that, contrary to the edit and what we've seen so far, there are 2 other tribes out here. Shocking, but they are here.
Wow.
We see a fun little moment, and I think we've seen a lot of fun moments, a lot less strategy this episode, like overtly strategy, but a fun little moment between Soda and Tevin. That song, I think on Jeff's podcast on Fire or somewhere, he said that they got paid for that. Soda and Tevin got paid. Someone can correct me if I misheard that, but apparently it's like an original song, and I think also because they put music behind it, it's considered like an original song. And I could be wrong. You could go, you please go fact check and tell me if I'm right or wrong. But apparently they got paid.
I haven't listened. We should all be listening to On Fire because Diva Dars is the best.
Yes.
I haven't listened to the episode yet, but that's crazy. That's super cool for them. I've never heard of that happening to anybody.
Right. So that's kind of maybe I misheard that. Yeah. But I think that's a fun little interesting thing. Did you do a lot of singing, Brandon, while you were out there?
I cry. I mean, is crying is singing in a different, like crying is like God's
musical. It's very musical.
Yeah. No, I think that if you're going to season 47 or 48 in a couple weeks, what you should do is like sing in moments that they can't edit around. So then they have to pay you for your, like when you're getting voted out, when you're like doing something, you just like do a nice little tune there. And then what are they going to do?
So my question is, do you think Shan then got paid for her little ditty? If they got paid, Shan sang a ditty.
Do you need words? Like, is it ditty words? What is it? I think we need a dictionary definition.
I think you're right. You might need words to make it a paid song.
Can you like patent a hum? I guess you don't patent music. Can you copyright a hum?
You could probably copyright like a tune. I think Kara. You could probably like, it could be like if it's an original tune. Huh. I feel like, the guy who wrote the Tequila song, that's not really singing, but I don't think you can't really.
One word. I think
one word. Yeah. I don't know.
That's very interesting. I did not realize that. That's super cool for them. I do. I mean, again, Survivor Superfan. I think that has. I mean, many Survivor Superfans. That I don't think that's ever happened, as far as I'm aware.
I don't really ever see people sing.
Yeah, I know that. I know Shambo sang "Eye of the Tiger" on the recap episode of Samoa. I remember that singing. I think the Mata'amu tribe, Marquesas, they sang.
Wanda sang at the.
That's an original song.
Did Wanda get paid?
Somebody pay Wanda. Get the checkbook out. Yes, that's what I'm going to run on. That's my platform for my second chance. It's like I don't need to go back. Just pay. Well, granted, they're not, but I don't need pay what you would pay me and just give it to Wanda.
Give it to Wanda. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I have a friend who, Survivor lore. I've been in Survivor Facebook fan groups for many, many years. I have a very good friend who got in contact with Wanda, and Wanda sent him like a stack of all the songs that she wrote beforehand that she didn't sing, but she wrote 15 of them, and they're just in his basement somewhere.
That's incredible. That would be framed on my wall.
Yeah, listen, I can brag. We'll perform them here. If I ever get them in my possession, we'll do it right here.
Please, that's incredible. That's so good.
I would love that.
This episode, I also am kind of sad. We didn't get a lot of Venus Venus time. And I think that's a shame because Venus is one of my faves this season.
Yes, love her. Absolutely love her. I love everybody. Like, I think they're all great, but I love her. I love her story. I thought her story was that last week or was this that was last week?
Yeah, I think it was.
That was she's fantastic. I love Tevin's story this week. I mean, oh my God. I mean, it's beautiful. And that's like
I cried.
People like these new era haters, they're like, we don't need the backstory, whatever. Like, you don't want to hear that? That's beautiful. I mean, everybody's backstory is beautiful. Like, I love Maria's backstory as well. But the Tevin was just like, it was so beautifully done. And like, I mean, I went back and watched a little bit this morning, but you go back and watch the Tevin scene. It felt like the music was like a little bit quieter, where they wanted to really immerse you in Tevin. Because I mean, he narrates the beginning of the show. Like, he's clearly really good at just and you're hanging on every word when he's talking. And I thought that whole scene was absolutely beautiful. That's what you watch the show for. That's what I watch the show for.
Me too.
Yeah, that was a great scene. And we got Venus sweeping, which was a good
sweep.
Where did that broom come from?
Well, I think it's the oar. because like we use the oars to sweep. And Hannah Rose was sweeping. I wanted to lay down, and Hannah wanted to sweep when we got there the first day. You know, that's you got to put her to work. She's got to do something. You know,
that's just so funny.
Yes, Hannah is incredible on Instagram. If you don't follow her, go follow her. She's on Instagram now. I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of Hannah.
She's the best person in the world. She's literally God's best person. You know, she is. I had the best experience of my life, and I've said that since I got back. Like it was everything I wanted. Didn't go great, but it was everything that I wanted out of Survivor. For what it was. And Hannah is like a huge part of why it was so much fun. Like it was, you know, even the afterward, like the Ponderosa, it was her and I were like this the entire time, like the entire time. And we were just laughing the whole. I've never laughed harder in my life than I did with her in those couple of days. And she's the best. So yeah, follow her on Instagram. She's a Hannah Elise Rose.
Plug. Well, let's keep going a little bit to Siga, I believe, where Jem didn't realize that she was going to be doing some heavy lifting on the story/strategy for this episode, because her rehiding that idol really was a big lift for the episode. I'm not going to lie. Yes. That caused some chaos. I loved that. How do we feel about, first of all, how did you like the segment? But I would also love to hear both of your thoughts on if you liked the move for her. Brandon, why don't you start?
I think that the move is interesting. I think that hiding that, I would have picked a better place to hide it. I definitely, unless was the goal, I forget, was the goal to leave it out so somebody found it? That was the goal.
So I think she just wanted to cause chaos.
Yeah, which I like that. But then I am confused with the logistics of the rules, because like somebody else opens it, like it's already been claimed. There's already like somebody's already started the journey. So I didn't know how if that was like allowed.
So the actual beware advantage, I just rewatched this. So because I needed to clear that up a little bit. The actual beware advantage just says this is a beware advantage. You open it, it's yours. But then when you open it, it just says dig underneath here. It doesn't say you lose your vote until the next tribal council. It doesn't say anything like that. It just says dig, because that note is attached to the box.
Yes.
So because they didn't find the box, it's not like there's no, so just because the beware just said dig, all it did was cause confusion and chaos, but it didn't actually, because I was worried about the logistics too.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit, so that's all it did was cause chaos. It didn't actually like transfer or anything.
Yeah. Okay. That is super interesting. Yeah. Then that's fun. That's a lot of fun at that point, you know, and seeing everybody kind of like, you know, dig in that area is super fun. I think Mo had a really good confession. I forget what it was. But it's, I like the move. It just, you know, hopefully she's got to find the idol. Like now, like we have chaos and kind of the sense thrown off. It's been pinned on Tim from Mariah, so that's great. Now we just gotta we're 90% of the way there. We just gotta execute the ending.
Yeah, Kara, how did you feel about it?
I thought it was interesting. I also was like a little confused how that was gonna work, but now like knowing like she doesn't think she lost her vote or anything like that, so that kind of, I guess it makes sense. But also I was confused because she was like, oh, I don't want people to suspect me. But like, was anyone really suspecting Jem that she found it? You know, I feel like no one was suspecting that anyway. So I don't know if it was that necessary, but it did cause chaos and good TV. So I think it was fun. And it was funny when they all like didn't want to pick it up. They were like, oh, I don't know if I want it.
No,
so
and Maria like threw it.
Fun.
She like threw it like a hot spike. She was like, I don't want that.
Advantages. I think that, you know, somebody's gonna do it at some point and it's gonna work and it's gonna be really cool. Like I love the move. It just, you know, didn't execute as perfect as I wanted it to. But giving it away is fun. Like it's, you know, it's new. You know, it's like you watch a show that is like people complain. I don't complain. People complain. It's like repetitive. It's the same thing every time. You know, like just when you're doing shit that's like, let's try this out. You know, that kind of gives a different, even if it doesn't work. It's like, I remember Tyson at the Heroes versus Villains finale when talking about the Parvati double tribal where he goes, he's like, listen, it would have been really cool if it worked. It didn't work, you know. And I love stuff like that. I think there should be, you know, more of that.
Hindsight's always 2020. It's so much easier to sit there and say like you should have done this. I mean that's literally what we're doing here. But it is, you know, in the moment it's always really hard. That's why this is a tangent, but that's why I'm always a person who's like, play the idol, don't hold on to it. Just like play it for who cares. Just get it out. And then you would much rather play it for nothing than go home in your pocket. And if you have a good read, that's good. But like people have been voted out for less. But I also, going back to the Jem hiding it, I loved that they dug, essentially they were like replanting that tree. Like they were digging so deep
Yeah.
on that tree. Like they were not giving up. And I love how tenacious that they were going for it. They were not
Yeah.
giving up.
They were.
It was very incredible.
That's persistence from the immunity challenge is, you got to have that.
Persistence.
Pisrestance. Cheers to Pisrestance.
Cheers to Pesrestance. And then another, this happened later on in the episode, but J.E. brings up a good point. Mo said Jeff doesn't lie and Jeff doesn't give impossible tasks. And the big thing I loved online was everyone saying, well, 41 and 42 would disagree
He
with
did lie.
that.
He
lied.
trying to lie.
He did.
Yeah, and that's a whole weird, season 41 is just, they got a lot of stuff going on there. Somebody's going to do like the same way, like the Stanawatu and the Stanama and the Drop Your Buffs is doing the Nicaragua rewatch. Season 41 will be rewatched and revisited at some point. I don't want to do it, but I would do it. Maybe it's a little too soon. Like I would do it at some point. Just because I'm so curious of like, that was received so poorly in the real time, but is it better now? Like now that we know, and there's like years afterward, who knows? But season 41, like very good, very great people. Like the pre-merge, I thought, both parts were great, but Brad, love Brad.
Brad is incredible.
Great.
JD is somebody that I stand by this needs to come back I want him to come back on to Survivor every 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
If Survivor's still on the show, because I would think that I would love to see JD grow in the show, like at every stage of life, money shot, but then I also want to see him in his late 20s, and then I also want to see him in his mid 30s. I stand by this. Yeah,
I love that. I absolutely love it. You know what? Not for anything. I love Brad. Listen, I think that if you are going to Survivor 47 or 48, which you very much, you like, if you're listening to this and you are going, and you're young, this is very hard when you're young. Like, it's like I went at 25 and I could have been 5 years older. Like, and I think a lot of people feel that way. It's like, it's hard to do when you're young. You see people like JD, they go in at 21, they go in at 20, and it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life. And then you leave, and then you get to do the other hardest thing you ever do in your life, which is watching it and being around for all of this part, and it's so beyond hard, but like, you'll be fine. Like if you're watching it and you're going, you'll be fine. Just, find good people to share it with and do whatever. But it is so hard to do this when you're super young. And you could, like, JD is a young guy. Like you could watch it and you feel that he's young. And Jelinski's a perfect example. Jelinski 5-6 years down the road is not even, there's nothing in common. You get the shell of Jelinski, but you get like a different everything, and it's so beyond hard to do this when you're young. And I never understood that until I did it. And then I hear people say that and I'm like, yeah, you should wait. Don't wait. If you got accepted to go, like, go. Please go play. But it is a thing that I've thought about a lot, watching Jelinski, having thought about people like Keith Sowell from Edge of Extinction, who's I think 19 or 20 when he got, like, there are some people who just, if they don't have the long experience and it's still hard, it's a hard thing to compartmentalize once you get back. But JD for second chances. That was a long way of getting to JD
for second chances. Absolutely. Well, we have a reward challenge this episode. Great. Yanu dominated. I was so excited. I almost happy cried. I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. Their babies, the babies are doing it. I'm so happy for them. Right. It was a happy moment, at least for me. Maria was upset about her performance. But honestly, I think she did great. Yes. But the thing I want to talk about here, Tim, so chaotic, and I loved it.
Yeah, I tweeted and then I deleted it right away because it was like nobody's looking at Twitter during the reward challenge. But he just couldn't get up on the thing. I'm like, if you need anything, just call me. Like if you need like assistance, then I'll work through this. But he couldn't get on that thing. He was just jumping, and then I guess it's in the immunity challenge. He jumps on the other platform.
Yeah. Why was he jumping on it? Yeah. Like, why was he doing that?
It's so funny.
He was treating it like it was like regular floor, like solid ground, and he was just like jumping, and I'm just like. Was so here for it. It was incredible. That video of him like falling underwater and coming back up.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
And they lingered on it. Like he was underwater for like a while, it felt like. It's really like he's doing something down there. Like he's got a friend down there or something. He was really
he was rescuing Ron and Hermione from the mermaids or something. That's how long it felt like he was down there.
Is that I've never seen any Harry Potter. Is that a real thing that happens in Harry Potter?
Oh, yeah. Like they get stolen and then they get petrified or whatever and they got put underwater and then he has to go back and save them. It's like a game. It's like part of a game.
Oh, this wasn't in a movie?
It's in the fourth. No, it's in the movie and the book. It's in the fourth one, but it's like the game. It's like the big thing that they have to compete. That competition that they do.
One day I'm going to do all that. I've never done it. My beloved girlfriend, who I've been with for a very, very long time, loves Harry Potter. I've just never seen any of it. I just missed the whole boat. One day, or honestly, maybe.
You know what? It's kind of a fun fact. You keep going. You're like, I've never seen Harry Potter, and it's just like that's a good conversation starter.
Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
You've never seen Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
I've never seen a second of it. I've only watched this fucking show that I was bad at. I watched this show for 20 something years.
Oh my God.
I know nothing else. This is my only party trick is what we're doing right now. I can't be on a podcast for any other IP. It's just this one.
Incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. Now, Kara, have you seen Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings?
Never seen Star Wars, never seen Lord of the Rings. I've seen the first Harry Potter and like part 1 of like the 7th thing.
You gotta book it. You gotta go first.
Wow. Okay, well that's good to know. No Star Wars references.
Yeah.
I don't really like Lord of the Rings. So
I was gonna say
no Star Wars, no Harry Potter references. Good to know. I'm locking that in for future.
My very quick aside, which is tied to Fiji in some way, is that Harry Potter I went to watch when I was 5, 6, whenever it came out, and there's a snake very early in the first movie, and then I was out. I don't do reptiles. Reptiles are scary, and people saw snakes in Fiji. I never did, but I believe somebody saw one on my Lulu Beach. But the other tribes saw a ton of them. Like there are snakes in the they're at your camp. They're in the woods. They're like everywhere. So again, if you're going to tribe, get rid of just prepare for that.
Yeah, I snakes don't bother me, so I'm fine with the snakes. I think they look so dumb with their no feet. They're so silly.
Yeah. And you've always said that.
They're so silly. One thing I did want to talk about in that challenge, Hunter is single-handedly almost winning these challenges for his tribe. Let's talk about that strategy, right? If you're that physical, what do? Do you win the challenge for your tribe and potentially put a target on your back? How do you feel? And do you feel like he's even putting a target on his back? Because I worry for his longevity in the game come merge.
Cara, do you have anything?
I definitely think he does have a target because Venus has talked about targeting him. So people are aware of it. So maybe he's not like the first one to go if they were to go, but I think he's definitely like people are clocking it.
I think, I absolutely agree with that. And I do think that Hunter is the kind of guy who's going to be a target just because he's like super likable and sticks out, even if he's not that good at the challenges. I think he's just in you have Jonathan Young who gets to go to the Final Four, and I just don't think that he had the full package to an extent. Like I think he was missing a little bit of that social and strategic, and he was good at both of those things for sure. But I think that Hunter is like very much triple threat. And even if he was just double threat and was missing a little bit of physical, he would still be a huge target when he got there. So I really am enjoying watching him. I think the puzzle room that he has in his house is insane, and I am obsessed with it. And I think he's probably here for like a while. I don't see him getting targeted. Who knows what's going to happen with the dynamic when everybody meets up with each other. But he will have the target whether he goes or he doesn't go. I mean, I read a Reddit thread where people are like, he could just win every immunity challenge. Jonathan Young is, I don't remember how many he won, but there's seldom are there people who come on and are so dominant that they literally could win. They could just win out. And I think that'd be like, I'm obsessed with that.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I would love that.
Yeah.
And my thing also with like Hunter, and I feel the same way about like all women's alliances as well. When the threat is already there, why not just go for it? People are always worried about an all women's alliance. If people are worried about it anyway, like if they think you're in one, just then do it. Like exactly. If people are already seeing you as a threat for the challenges, like I think, he kind of reminds me of Tommy, just I think maybe because he has red hair and he's like a bigger guy. And Tommy didn't win any of his challenges because he specifically went in and he was like, I'm already a big person. I'm already like a presence. So I'm going to lower my threat level by like not really trying at any of these challenges. And so he never really won any individuals, right? And I don't think that he did a ton. Correct. I could be wrong. During earlier on in the during when it's tribes. And so I feel like you either have to go that route of just like, I'm a mouse, even though I'm a really big mouse, I'm a mouse and you don't have to worry about me. Or you have to just be like, you know what? I'm already here. I'm already a big dude. I already have a target. Let me just at least win as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. And I think that Hunter too is confident enough in himself and his abilities to where he's going with that the ladder there, not the ladder, but the ladder.
That's
why you have me.
The clip. That's the clip.
That's flip it. You have somebody who's that confident, who knows their abilities, and also is like suave enough to, in a social situation, can be like, I know, but it's like it, might be good to have me here for a little bit. Even in the individual portion, if you're aligned with the guy who's winning, not always the best thing. Like, they clip the person who's close to you, but sometimes if you just have a power structure that's advantageous to you to be in, then who knows? It could go either way.
Yeah. Now, Kara, how do you feel about the Soda's Gotta Goda? Tevin and Hunter talking about Soda maybe possibly leaving or getting them getting her out.
I know. I feel like Soda really has a big target on her back now. She's like public enemy number one on Nami now. So, but like I understand. I feel like she is like social. She is gonna make connections and things like that. So, and it was interesting because Hunter was like, I'm ready for her to go because I want to be closer to Tevin. Like she's in the way of me being as close as possible to him. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that Liz is in the best position you could possibly be in on this tribe. As like I did Gordon Holmes's power rankings last week, and I said, like, in a hypothetical situation, because we had seen the preview that Tevin and Soda were like going after each other. Like in a hypothetical situation, either of them, once they go after each other, the number that you need there is Liz. Like you need Liz. Like for any of these plans to work, Liz is the person that you jump at. And I think that like going into any kind of situation, emergatory, whatever, Liz has got all the information at a certain point of like who's where and who likes who the most and who wants to get who out. So I'm very excited to see where Liz takes this for sure.
I think that's such a great point, Brandon. Like, yeah, because she was brought in. She's like, "This is great for me." Like, yeah, please let's do it. Let's move on. Because losing a number like Brandon to a medical evac is hard on a tribe, because I think it's a little bit different because you're not voting somebody out. This is something that is happening to the tribe, not happening because of the tribe. And so I wonder, that must be hard to kind of come back from, especially for somebody like Venus, or, especially if you're working with that person, but it definitely must be difficult to come back from. So I was really interested to see how they were kind of finding solid ground and then ready to move forward in a group of 5 rather than 6, even though they didn't vote anybody out. So I thought that was like a really interesting hearing them talk about that. And I honestly was shocked that Tevin was the one to bring it up, because, and I think this is also the best for Hunter, because Hunter's like, I didn't have to even say it. Yeah. I knew that they were close, and I didn't bring it up. Tevin brought it up. This is great for me. So it's a very interesting dynamic, I think, that's going on there.
Yeah. I mean, like at its core, like all anybody wants is just a name that isn't them, even if it's your buddy, like, it's like, okay, it's like one more ejection that I have to avoid, and then we worry. But at a certain point, like, especially in the pre-merge, like nobody wants to go pre-merge. Like everybody wants to at least make it to the second half of the game and have some more agency in forging their own path and doing their own journey. So this is like, best case scenario for, and it's great for Venus. Like Venus just sat tight, and now Venus is getting pulled in on a plan when, 3-4 days ago, she would be the person that would go. I was saying on Gordon's podcast again, like, I don't like using easy vote, because I think everybody has things that like they can bring to a potential big group situation that would be helpful. But Venus would easily be a couple of days ago like the vote of convenience. But now we've been around too long for a vote of convenience to make the most sense. Like now it's like, it's a vote. Let's make a vote that is not just convenient, but it is advantageous for all of us to keep going. And people say this ad nauseum, but like going to a pre-merge tribal council is like the most beneficial thing you can do for a tribe. Is like, because it's like going through like a traumatic experience together where you're bonded over this shared decision. You all establish trust with each other, and then you move forward with that established trust. If you don't go, like you see it with Bello on the original Bello on my season, is like you don't go and then you crack immediately. You kind of lose your glue, and then it's off to the races for everybody else. So I do think that like going at this point, especially for Venus, if Venus makes a decision with a big group, she's in with the big group. Like there's no reason for them to not trust her in the big group, because that's what you have. That's your option. So I'm hoping that, like, I really want them to go to tribal council. I'm actively rooting against them next episode. Like I want them to go. I don't want Soda to go. They were so close. I don't want Soda to go. I don't want Venus to go. I don't want any of them to go, but I want one of them to go. I don't care which one it is. I want them to go to see the fireworks.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but during the immunity challenge, Sassy Jeff came out. We love it. We love to see it. He was saying like, call the doctor because Q like jumped in and got a belly flop or whatever. And then Kenzie's died. He was like, I give it a 5.5. Like he was saying like things like that. And after I was watching it, Ryan, my boyfriend, was like, why is he's only saying that to Yanu? And I was like, yeah. Why is Yanu the only one that's getting it? Because he wasn't doing it to anybody else. And then we kind of realized it's because those are the only people that Jeff knows. Jeff obviously has met them. He knows the people because he was helped, but nobody else. He has no rapport with anybody else in terms of this show, this tribe, whatever, because they're the only ones he's really talked to. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. They have that like rapport, if you will, with Jeff, which I thought was very funny. And honestly, I would love for Jeff to say that my dive was 5.5. I would die. In a good way. I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, it is fun when he yells at you. It's like it's a little fun. Like it's not fun.
You're yelling at me.
It's a little fun. This is crazy. This is crazy that any of this is happening. So I recommend it.
Now, the immunity challenge, obviously we're not going to talk about it too much, but honestly, Yanu was not far off.
No.
They only had one, and I really think if the box had gone well for Yanu, I feel like it would be a very different episode. What do you guys agree? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that Banu, again, your boys here. So talking about struggling and challenges, like we are all on the same page. I do think that Banu even like lobbing the balls back to Q who's shooting them was a little bit hard. But like, yeah, the jump, like missing a step. I never saw anybody do it. I mean, I was only there for a couple challenges, but like missing a step sucks. Like it's the worst time crunch. And I feel like it's happened maybe recently that I've seen or that we've seen. I can't remember the time that it's happened, but I do think that I think it's not super uncommon. But it does. It's a time suck also because watching that challenge. And granted, I did a water challenge. We don't have to Google it. It's fine. It's fine. But like you are watching that challenge. I mean, everybody there looked fucking exhausted. Like it looked hard. Like Jeff even says it. Like jumping off this thing or going up that rope ladder.
The rope ladder
thing. That's like you didn't even do the hard part. Like that's the hardest part of the hard part.
Yeah.
And it just looks like so hard. And then like Banu obviously has some other stuff going on. Like he's thinking about how he's going to survive tonight if they lose. And then I very much can relate to that. And then just misses a step, and then it's all it's not great after that. But it's challenges are they're like people fast forward them. Who cares? It's not
literally. Obviously Yanu loses. They're going back to tribal council. It's probably the clearest vote we've ever seen in maybe even the new era. It's they go back and they're like, it's Banu. Banu is not having, not like he's having trouble. That I felt like that was really difficult for me to watch. And when I rewatched this earlier, I felt like when I first watched it on Wednesday, I felt like the end of the challenge and when they go to tribal council, I felt like that was like a 30-minute period because of how excruciating it was to watch.
Yeah.
It was only 8 minutes.
It was 8 minutes. It was literally 8 minutes. We did the math last night watching it. Or like this is because we went to tribal council at like 9:16. Like out of till 9:30. It was such a late tribal council.
And it was so hard to just watch. We all knew that Tiffany had the idol. We know, and he's looking for the idol. This is why I don't like The Amazing Race, because I don't like watching people struggle like that. It's not fun for me.
I've never had that perspective. I don't mean to cut you off at all.
No, go ahead.
I've never had that perspective about The Amazing Race, but there is a degree of sad the last like 7 minutes where you're seeing them put the Norway flag together and they have to trudge to that's so, and it felt exactly like that.
That's exactly like we'll put The Amazing Race on as like background because I think it's fun to kind of watch it in the beginning, but then when somebody gets eliminated, it's like when someone gets eliminated on Survivor, I see the reasoning, I understand what's going on. It's like other people were working to fix this other puzzle or whatever, but on The Amazing Race, it's like you tried really hard and you just didn't make it. And I can't. Kara, do you watch The Amazing Race?
No, not really.
Because it's hard. It's like it's emotional for me at least.
Yeah. I mean, watching him in that time, it was it was so hard because it's like, what can he do? There's nothing he can do. He's just waiting to leave, basically. Like, he has no vote. He can't do a shot in the dark. He's just there, existing. They're telling him that they're voting him out or like he's going. So I feel like that probably had to be so hard for him to like experience that, to go through that.
Yeah, it was really like not fun. Like it was not fun to
No.
watch. It wasn't fun. I mean, really, I'm sure it wasn't fun to live through.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm sure it wasn't fun for either of the four of them to live through.
Yeah.
Like it was
No.
really, really, you know, in terms of like, you know, Peridium and the folks, the Once Upon an Island Idled Out, they make these videos of like the hardest to watch scenes in Survivor. I don't know if that's a video yet, but this was really like, this is top 5 I think I've ever seen of just like really just like uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
Like really, really not super fun. And then like I feel like we get to tribal council and it's better, but it's still not like great. I really like, you know, again, I watched at a viewing party last night, Maddie Pamela, you know, in attendance, and we watched, you know, and not to jump ahead too much, but like Banu gets voted out and then Jeff hugs him. And it's like, that's like, I mean, I could cry now. Like that's fucking awesome. Like it's like to have that good, like bad of an experience. And then to like, that's what, but I know, cause I've been there. It's like Banu leaves thinking about that. Like that's what he doesn't, you know, I'm sure he's replayed all of it in his head a million times, but like the thing that he thinks about to like get himself out of that is like the hug, you know? And that's like, I'm so glad not only did like it happened, but they put it in. Like they don't put stuff like that. Like sometimes they cut stuff like that. But they put it in. And I'm like, you know, and not to be on a tangent, but like if you're watching this and you're like not a monster, like there's a lot of people that are so mean right now on the internet, which like
they're don't be horrible.
Don't be horrible. And like don't, you know, if you have felt any positive to Bono at all, any positive, go tell him, comment on something, DM him, you know, like I had not a great reaction, but I had a lot of people that were also positive, you know, and I had a lot of folks that just like, you know, you comment like you're bad at challenges, like I don't care, like I know, like it's not, you're not telling me anything I don't know, but the attacks that I've seen on Banu are like so personal and they're mean, you know, and it's stuff that like, you know, I feel like, and I'm sure you guys both do, and like folks who love this show, it's like you're like it's. You know Banu now. Like it's like you know this guy who lives in Boston. He's a great guy. He has a job. He's a beautiful. I'm not sure if he's married or if he's has a boyfriend, whatever. But you like this guy is a real guy. You know, it's extending grace to somebody who like I'm sure probably needs it right now. Is like if you're not a monster, go send him some love from this podcast, from us, whatever. Like I'm sure he could really appreciate it. That's my tangent.
I think that's a great tangent. Yeah. I think that's incredibly important, and definitely everyone should go do that. Speaking of that, while we're on the tribal council, let's quickly talk about the no vote. I would love to hear both of your opinions on whether or not, because the online people were not happy with the no vote.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Some people were upset about the precedent that this causes because they worry, what I had read is, and I think I saw like Stephen Fishback tweeted this and like some other people, that if something like this happens where you go and it's no vote, then you know it's a, you know, solid, you know who's going home. But then if you go and it's something like this tribal council and you go to vote, then it's actually not going to be what you think it's going to be, and it's actually going to be something different. And what people are upset about is the fact that this is actually taking people's confessionals and what people are saying that they're going to do prior to the actual tribal council and using that in the tribal council without like saying like, we know who you're going to vote for, but we know who you're going to vote for. So that's the negative, because I didn't get that at all. I was like, I don't care. Like, why make it longer? I didn't like him looking for an idol. Why do I need to see these people go up and vote for him and then him not go up and not have a vote? I felt like it was just like adding insult to injury. Yeah. But that is something that I did hear, and I would love to hear both of your thoughts on whether or not you think that this is a bad precedent to continue.
Yeah, I thought it was like, I understand why they didn't, but I also thought it was weird because I had that like in the back of my head. I was like, what if someone did want to like switch something up when they go into vote and they just didn't want to say it, you know? You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a little weird, and I know like with the whole like people quitting thing, like that was like a whole thing. And this kind of felt similar to that with the not voting, where it was like this person's just leaving, no one's going to vote. It's not the whole like ritual of tribal council. So I was a little like, I don't know. I get why they didn't, but
Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely. And I think that, like, I personally would have fought for, if I was in this position, and obviously Banu's got a lot of stuff in his mind, and Banu's like maybe at a point like ready to just go, and like we don't need
Mhm.
the extra 20, 15 minutes. I would have fought for votes. I would have just been like,
Mhm.
I like as a as a fan, like
I
I
wanna
want to
see my
see my
name on the
name written down.
parchment.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to see it. Like, even I'm not even voting. Like, I didn't have a vote, you know. And in Hannah Rose's tribal council, we at the same thing is like, I didn't think, I mean, I was like, people were still going to vote Emily, like very late into the thing. And then somebody made the call to have it, you know, then us just vote. I mean, I think Jeff was like, let's just vote here. And I think now this is the third time that it's happened in the new era. I know Tori and now Hannah, and Tori obviously is a very case by case basis, and then Hannah, and then now this. And it is interesting that now is exactly what Stephen Fishback said, is like, it does set a weird precedent. Like, if you think it's so cut and dry and you're getting them to vote, then it's like something's going. It might be you. You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's very interesting. I haven't had that perspective, but
So some food
yeah.
for thought.
Yes, a lot of it. The food's great.
Well, now before we go into our commercial break and start getting into questions and all that good stuff, is there anything that either of you want to touch on that we haven't touched on so far in the episode? A moment that you loved, a moment that you hated, anything at all? Kara?
Um, I'm like trying to think. I guess this wasn't like something in the episode, but something that I was thinking that I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's because I picked him as my winner pick and I have to just like back him, but I feel like them getting rid of Jelinski was like their worst move. I feel like they wouldn't be in this predicament if they kept him and they got rid of Jess first.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Jelinski's got 7-foot wingspan. He would have really, persistence would have helped a lot
Yeah.
in the second challenge. I definitely see that. And it's one of those things of like, that's like very 2020 hindsight, is like, yeah, I think they would have been in a much better spot and maybe even more cohesive. Like Jelinski quit a couple things, and I guess it was, you know, wheeling and dealing maybe when he shouldn't have been. But like, I think that somebody like a Banu, who we absolutely love, but I think he is not good for cohesiveness. I think that there's like, you know, people, and like, I mean, I was shooting with like, I'm good for morale. Like, I was like, I'm a personality hire, keep me. But like, to a degree, that is more like, that's cohesiveness. And I think that Banu lacks that, which like right now you need it, vote one, but you really need it when you're going into a situation that you're going to have to, there's 3 of you. And I think Jelinski and I think Jess would have brought a lot of that as well. I think they both would. But I think that's where, I mean, Banu has a couple things that are not ideal with how he approached the situations that he was in. But I do think that like being a person in the tribe that everybody feels they have to like take care of, I think that is not good for this part of the game, because like, especially when you can't like offer a ton either. Like, you can't like that. I think that if you need to be like Dawn in Caramoan, you know, is like is a little bit emotional in the post game, and like Brenda takes care of her, then she snipes Brenda. Like, that's a situation where it can work out. But I think right now in this particular point, not necessarily the mindset that you want to see like an ally having. So I take care for your point. I do agree that Jelinski or Jess even would have been, I think, a little bit more beneficial at this stage. If you just shift Banu back even one, and then you have both of those to work off of for round 2 and up, for sure.
Yeah.
Brandon, is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we didn't really talk about?
I think Mo not being able to jump is very funny.
Yes.
Mariah's, that's I think I really enjoyed that. I don't know how it's possible to not. I mean, listen, your boy's not great at the task, but I can jump. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at it. If I do say so myself. I think that I've never heard of anybody not being able to jump. You can both jump. I assume you can both jump.
I mean, I don't think I've tried recently. That was the big thing that I was like, why do her friends know that she can't jump? Because I don't know if I can jump or not, because I don't really think that I jump a lot in my day-to-day life.
I should be clear. I haven't jumped in a while. Like, it's been a long time. Almost a year ago today that I've jumped. I jumped off the boat. But I think I jumped fine. Like, I jumped fine. Like, I don't think that, you know, I can jump rope, I think. I mean, I used to, I don't think I've lost it. But like, Mariah's jump, like, she doesn't go up, she goes like out,
and her feet come like back.
I've never seen any human do that. I've never. It's a new thing that I've seen, you know, just now. And that's why Survivor's beautiful. You know, that's why the casting team is great at what they do.
Yes.
And it was like, did she really need to like know how to jump to like complete this? Like, all she had to do was kind of just walk off. Like,
no,
she
yeah.
could just-
And that's, I think, was so funny because it was like in the clue, in the tree mail, it was like, you got to jump to new heights or something. It like said something like that. And she was like, oh no. And when they said that, I was like, oh my God, I think it's the like Ricci thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was such a funny like montage to see her try and jump, and then it actually not really matter because you're jumping off of a platform, not up to something.
I would like Randy, who's in the chat. Randy, can you clarify? Have you known that you can't jump, or did this make you realize you can't jump? Like, what situation are you in that you're like, now I can't jump? Like that's so funny. It's like, I mean, I can't blow bubbles with gum. Like, that's a thing everybody can do. I can't figure out. Like, it's like one of those things that, you know, in life, I'm never going to be able to do it. You know, can't put in contact.
That is actually going to be the next challenge, the next individual immunity challenge. So good thing you're not on 46.
Yes, yeah, good thing. That would be the challenge. Like, okay, he can win this one. Just jump.
I guess people are actively thinking about jumping, though. I never really thought about jumping.
No, nor I. Not for anything. I was at a viewing party last night, and when Mariah jumped on the thing, everybody clapped. Like, it was not a planned thing, but people loved it.
It was so good.
Storytelling is what that is.
It was so good. It was so good. And before we go to commercial, the one thing I forgot to say that I thought was really interesting is in 4 episodes of television, Banu had 35 confessionals.
Yeah.
35 confessionals is so many. And I love Banu. And I honestly, and I'm someone who actually, I liked him on the TV. I think he was taking a lot of the time away from a lot of other things, but like, it's because he was good at, you know, being in the moment and like giving us good television and all of this other stuff. But 35 is so many in 4 episodes. I just had to share that statistic because in comparison, the next 2 highest were Kenzie and Tiffany, and I think they have like 28.
Yeah, I think I think I saw somewhere today that like Kelly, my dear friend Kelly Nibanian, got 35 in 8 episodes or 9 episodes, however many she was at. That's crazy. It's crazy.
So many.
Not even anything I have commentary for. That's a lot.
Isn't that a lot? I know.
I saw something. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but like I saw something where someone said he almost had like the same amount as Erica had in her season when she won. Which I thought was crazy.
That sounds true. Honestly, that could be true.
That's crazy.
And I saw Parvati in Micronesia. Like Parvati had 35 in Micronesia, I believe.
That's crazy.
Banu.
That's wild. Banu.
And I do think, not for anything. I mean, Jeff, I know I read the article this morning about On Fire, or maybe he said it to Mike Bloom, casting 100%, whatever. Banu will be on. If there is a pre-merge anything, if there's a second chance anything, Banu's going. Like, for the people who don't like Banu, you haven't seen, like, if Banu wants to go, Banu is in 1,000%. Banu is the pre-merge guy you bring back now of the new era. Like, I thought for the longest time it was JD. I can see Zach. I can see Brando. And now I think it is Hondo P. Banu. Hondo P. I think Jalinsky also was a shot, but I think Banu's fucking got it.
Banu has it in the bag.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, all press is good press. Survive people, whether people are like it or not, people are talking about Banu a lot, and it's all over everywhere. And I feel bad for Banu, but for Survivor, like that's even if it's polarizing and people love or hate or whatever, like that you're in the news, right? And so it's a thing that's happening. And so he's got it in the bag. He's coming back. I
know there's like newer fans around to listen to this podcast. Like Colton was the worst person, and Banu's not a bad person. Like Colton was a actively bad person. In One World, and they just brought him back again. Like they've done crazier things, and they will continue to do crazy things. Banu compared to Colton, I mean, it's not.
I will take Banu every day. Let me just say.
God forbid. I mean,
it's not a fair comparison to Banu, honestly. Let me just say.
I mean, not at all. And I agree 100%. But in terms of their situations of going back, like I bring back Banu 1,000 times, and I would bet money that he is back the next time that there are like if 50 is going to be like a big thing that they're not going to have any pre-mergers for, but the first vehicle they have, a Game Changers 2, a Second Chance 2, we will see Banu again. And it 100%. Will be kinder, like an ER at the end of, it's like be kinder. I think that's a great, we got to make the shirt.
So.
That's so good.
I hope so. And I hope he has a better experience because I feel like it's just so sad to know that someone might not have had a good experience.
Yeah,
doing
absolutely.
Survivor. So hopefully he gets to come back.
Hopefully. Because honestly, I love him. Well, we're going to do a quick commercial. And when we come back, it's going to be time for social hour and the award season and all of that good stuff. So we'll be right back.
What's up, guys? I'm Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China, and I want to welcome you to Todd's Pop Shop. Here, me and my husband Jess, we custom make Funko Pops. We'll make literally anybody or anything you could imagine. But being that we're here listening to the Survivor Now podcast, I'm assuming you're all Survivor fans. So take a look at these. Some custom Funkos of your favorite Survivor winners, Sandra and Yule. Or how about Big Brother fans? Suri Goddess herself playing the game of Big Brother. You can also get her in Survivor form. Or maybe yourself with your favorite buff and a torch playing the game. But even better, get yourself with your favorite player like Nora here with Ozzy. And since you're listening to the Survivor Now podcast, if you mention this ad, you will get $10 off your first order and free shipping. All season long, Survivor 45 should be a good one. Mention this ad, $10 off and free shipping. I'll be watching too, still a diehard fan to this day. Hit me up on Instagram, Todd's Pop Shop, or toddspopshop@gmail.com, or on Facebook, and I will see you soon.
I love him.
I love him too. It's my favorite ad because I just adore him. But it is time for social hour. We have some questions that were sent in for the whole panel, but also some specifically to Brandon. So let's start. Chris, one of our best friends of the pod, sent in a couple of questions. Chris asked to Brandon, and we'll all answer. Do you think you'd be able to balance on the platform, or would you fall off like Tim?
I would fall off like Tim, Chris. And I think you know that, Chris. I think this is a crazy thing to ask me, Chris. No, I think that I mean, it does look super hard, like not for anything. Like balancing was never my balance. I can balance. But it's just like the getting. I shouldn't say that. After the getting on was a debacle. Like I can't imagine. It would go great. I resonate like seeing Tim do the thing when the reward challenge where he's underwater and then he's not on the thing. I literally I felt it in my stomach. I'm like, oh God, I've lived that. It sucks, and it's not, it's not fun when you hear everybody yelling. That's what caused me to panic, is hearing everybody. And it felt very much like a night. It was, it wasn't a nightmare, but
living nightmare.
You can hear everybody and you can hear, it's a whole thing. But Tim, if you're listening to this, Tim, just call me. We can talk about it.
Sarah, how would you do on that?
I mean, if I was jumping from the boat onto the platform, I don't think I would even make contact with the platform. So I don't think I'd be able to do it.
I don't think, here's the thing. No one else actually jumped. Everyone else just stayed on the boat and did a foot onto the platform. But I do think I would probably do what Tim did and jump on the platform. I would be very overzealous, I think, if I did it. And I think I would also probably fall.
Yeah. And
it would be great. It was great TV. I loved that moment. I'm not going to lie. We have another question from Chris for specifically Brandon. Yeah. Brandon, time to put you on blast. Who is your closest friend from the 45 cast? And you can't say Jeff Probst.
I can't answer that. It's so mean.
I have all of 45 on Skype right now, and they're all going to yell at you if you don't say you.
It's Bruce. It's people don't know this, but Bruce and I were running the Amazing Race. No, he's I love everybody. I really, and I've said this ad nauseum, but it is the best group of people that I've ever, it's the best 17 other people that I could have ever met in my life. They are all beautiful. They are all the best. I'm not going to pick a favorite, Chris. But they are all, you cannot get a better, more beautiful group of people. And I see some of them all the time. I see, the New York contingent a lot. I see a couple of other folks that travel a lot. And there's some people that I haven't seen, since the finale and might not for a little bit. My dear friend Sabaya just moved, she's not on the East Coast anymore. And I every time that we text, she's obviously, military. So she just gets put around different places. But she's they're all the best. And I love them and I will not be picking a favorite. This is why I wouldn't go to the social game.
Or maybe this is why you would be. Kristen Chavez asked if Banu told Kenzie about Q's plan to take her out, could he have changed the vote? And I think this is a very interesting question. I have thought about this for a second, so I'll give you guys a second to think about it while I say I think that it if done properly, this could have been an interesting thing because it has to be treated with a lot of care. I don't know if it would have changed the vote. I think it would have had to been done very early on to give them some time to kind of talk about it and really for Kenzie to kind of decide whether or not she's going to trust this. But I do think that is information that could have been used to turn the tide for Banu. Brandon, what do you think? We'll start with you.
I think a little bit less so, only because I think that Banu now has shown reputation-wise that this is like a last-ditch thing. I think he would have to have, as you said, Ted, with get it in at the buzzer, like get it in really, really early after. Like we hear there's a medevac and then jump into game mode. That's when this would happen. If this is 2 hours before tribal, there's no shot, I think. Like, I think what it does do is like, oh, let's vote out Banu, and then Kenzie will think about it in the morning. But like, it is just desperate. And again, I think I said it at the beginning of this podcast, but it's all about how, to me, that information is delivered. And like Banu, up until this point, like we never, maybe I'm missing something from episode 1, but I don't think Banu has ever like delivered information that's like integral to somebody's operation in a way that is productive, like in a way that isn't as like based in emotion rather than fact and like initiative. And I think that would, I can't imagine this conversation with Kenzie sounds the way that like it would if Q was delivering it.
In like a perfect world. Yeah.
Yeah. I think either way, I do 100% think that it causes Kenzie to maybe re-question like what she's going to be doing with Q in the future. I think it leaves a little nugget, but I think that Banu is, as soon as that I did something bad or what, that's a Taylor song, Charlie, if you're listening. I think that if once that happened, I think that he's out. He's out, and there's nothing to really change it at that point.
Kara, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been worth for him to say it, worth trying it and seeing what would have happened. And also, I feel like he really is not like a great liar. He can't really lie. So I feel like they might have seen like, okay, maybe he is telling the truth. Like, why he's now just going to start lying to me about this. So you never know. I think it could have been a little fun if he did say it. Maybe it would have switched things up.
Yeah.
I think probably still would have ended up leaving. But
yeah, I think you're probably right. So Victor had this question. How do you feel about 4 out of the 6 of the new era seasons having one tribe that is not up to par, just in general? Because this is definitely a big conversation online right now.
I mean, again, Survivor is my literal favorite thing in the world. And I think they are the best production. They are so good at everything they do. They've made mistakes. They've corrected those mistakes. What I do not understand is, you have the first, like if the new era is the rebirth of Survivor, right? And we're starting essentially from season 1. Season 1 to season 7, you get 2 tribes. And then we're going to say season 8, you get 3. And then you get 2, whatever. Like they are so firm on like being so like rigid with their format. Is rigid? Am I using rigid correctly? They're being so this is what it is. And it doesn't have to be that. Like we're not like, and again, I don't subscribe to the, like, you can't remember, like they're all numbered seasons. I can't remember what happened in which one. That has never been a problem for me or the people that I talk to about the show, because we all watched Big Brother. That's been numbered seasons the whole time it's been on. Like,
oh, such a good point.
Yeah. And The Amazing Race. I mean, granted, The Amazing Race is a little bit harder, but like you Big Brother is like, you talk about Big Brother 24. Oh, that's the one that Taylor was on. Big Brother 23. That's the one that Coco was on. Like Big Brother 22 is the bad season that we're not watching. That's Big Brother 21 race. Like you have like associated things. So I don't buy into that. That's like a thing, but I do think that like small tweaks where like and not for anything, your boy does a little bit better on 2 tribes. Like there's no doubt. There's like the 6-person tribes are designed for like and Jeff loves this, the nowhere to hide. Like you get there's nowhere to hide. And I think that, and I'm not speaking about myself at all. Like I'm taking me out of it. If I never play Survivor, you lose a lot of really good people that otherwise maybe wouldn't have left because there's nowhere to hide. Like you lose Justine Brennan, who in a different situation can win Survivor. Like you lose people like that, who like, you lose Maddie Miller. I mean, you lose people who are like really, really good and can be really good just by virtue of like, there's nobody else here to vote off, So I think that needs to be changed. My other tweak, and again, not taking me out of it, Survivor they just released the press images for next week's Survivor, which is the same challenge they did in episode 5 of Survivor 45, which is the slingshots and the whatever, which is a great challenge and very fun. However, Survivor has now a 24-year backlog of like really fun challenges that like before even the Fiji era, just other like, like in Vanuatu, they're going around and they're unmatched. Granted, I wasn't good at matching, so I'm taking me out of it. But like you do like the matching, or you do like the mixer challenge they do in All Stars. Like there is flexibility and fun. Jeff, I think, really loves the ninja warriorification of the challenges, where they're these huge obstacle courses and you're 9 years old and you're watching it and it's super crazy and it's like fun and you envision yourself there. But like 9-year-old or 11-year-old me watching Gabon, there's a slip and slide challenge in Gabon.
Yeah.
Like they go down and they do that thing. Like one of my favorite challenges ever is they have that big wicker ball and they throw it down the hill. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
And
in Gabon, right?
Stuff like that. Yes, stuff like that.
I'm picturing Crystal like
yes. And so Randy throws it, and then Ace is guarding it at the bottom, and then he tells Ace to freeze. He isn't on his team, and then that's the winning point. It's my favorite Survivor, one of my favorite Survivor movies ever. Stuff like that is like, do more of that. Like we, and it's not even like they're super crazy to build or whatever. Like it's not a labor issue. It's just like I think there are so many really good things that team built that they should just recirculate. So that was not your question, whoever answered that, but that's just my rant for the night.
I think those are incredibly perfectly worded and poignant things to say. Kara, how do you feel about 4 out of the 6 New Era seasons having one tribe that's not up to par?
Yeah, no, I don't like seeing one tribe go into tribal council week after week. I don't like seeing one tribe lose. I don't think it's fair to the people on the tribe. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
I
And
don't even
here's
know
the
if that
thing.
answers the question, but
No, it definitely does. And like my big thing also with this is like, and I'm not trying to suck up to you right now, Brandon, but I truly believe whenever I'm like on a live or whatever, people will be like, who do you want to see back? And I always say, like, I talk about a lot of new or pre-merge people, and it's like you, Maddie, Pamela, people who I have had the pleasure to meet in real life, who I feel like I know pretty well or okay, and I just know what their personality is like. And I'm like, we missed out. And I truly believe that if you were on a 2-tribe thing, or where you like duck and weave and you'd be able to figure your way through, that you would be a lot of people's favorite players, because you're so funny and you're so like smart and you're just like on it. I'm not doing this to like,
this is why I
gas you up, but
I'm never doing Gordon Holmes again. He didn't say any of this shit.
But it's just like they're casting so well. Why is it that we are, and obviously there are always going to be pre-merge boots. Like that's how Survivor, that's what happens. But when it's on 2 tribes, at least we have more time with them. We have not the same people going to tribal council all the time, so that I feel like I'm not meeting people and I'm not getting to know people. I'm not getting able to see their strategy. And all of the things you said, I completely agree with. And I'm not somebody who like loves Australian Survivor more than American Survivor. Brandon, do you watch Australian Survivor?
No, I watched the first 5 and I'm behind. Like I haven't watched I understand this last one's super good. I am spoiled on when you were actually doing the logistics of, you were talking about the person who's the big threat and then the shield. Like I was trying to do the math of who that was, because I only know their names. Like I don't know who did what thing. So I will return and watch them. I have really, I might skip a couple.
There are a lot of episodes.
There's a lot.
But I'm very interested. And again, people are, I understand that folks think the Australian one is better. And I'm sure there are, I'm not sure of. There are parts of it that are better. Sure.
Yes.
Like,
the challenges for one.
Yeah. I like this one. I'm going to stick with this one. I don't need to, like, I'm good with, like, I can't memorize all this bootleg. I only have so much room up here. So I'm sticking with this one. I will check it out. I love the first 5 seasons. I think they're fantastic. I think that Australian Survivor 2017 is, I think, the best season of any version of the show. I think it's like beautiful. You should watch that if you haven't watched that. That's what I'm promoting. When you ask me what I'm promoting Australian Survivor 2017. It's perfect. But I haven't watched recently. But yeah, they do a lot of things that are great, and I hope that the things that we do maybe better. Oh, love you, Merle. I think the things that we do that are better, I hope that they, we should just learn from one another.
Yes. Yeah, because I like one of the things that they do great are the challenges. Their challenges are incredible. I adore them, and I love the fact that like they do one. I don't know if they do this on. I've only really seen the most recent seasons of Australian Survivor, but they do really cool like essentially their individual challenges, but as a tribe. So like hold on to this thing, and the person who holds on the longest wins for their tribe, or like and I love that. I think that's so interesting and so fun to watch. And I think the question is like, going back to the original question, like it's hard. I don't like seeing one tribe get decimated. I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's really fun to like not meet everyone else. And there are ways it can be fixed with keeping to the core of American Survivor or whatever, like keeping it pretty much the same, because it's been done before. Do you know what I mean?
Victor's question getting more airtime than Tim, than Maria, like than most of Sega. I feel like
literally
airtime.
Okay, so next question. We've got one from Survivor Affirmations. Also, if you don't follow Survivor Affirmations they're incredible on Instagram. Go follow. They asked, new era players aside, who are your favorite 17th placers? Seasons 1 through 40.
It's almost like, and I'm pulling up right now, I have a spreadsheet of everybody that has ever gotten 17th place.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because
I don't even think that I would know.
That's great.
Because I know like some great first boots that I can think of, but I think it's hard to like distinguish where people are.
Yeah. Well, it's hard now because like 17th place isn't always second boot. Like I really like the second boot of it all, but I really like 17th is we got, you know, and we've got Sari, we've got a Boston Rob, we've got Malcolm, we've got a couple big, we got Rudy, RIP.
True.
We've got Brendan Shapiro, who's naturally 5th in that list of names I just said. You know, he's a great guy. You know, but really my winner pick goes silent. I think Rob, he would do great in a second chance. We do have Russell Hand. We have a Jeff Varner. It can't all be, you know, it can't, like, we would be a really interesting, like, Squid Game if we put all the 17 players. I think Rudy can't make it, but if we put everybody else in, I think we would have a really fun, you know. Yeah, Chris Dixon says, you know, Garrett Adelstein and Drew Christie. You know, you get Drew was not 17th, Val was 17th. Val Collins, who's great. You know, we get a good couple. You know, we get a good couple people. So listen. They're all great. I was trying to make a connections game with all the 17 placers. Like, you know how people were making their own connections, and then I sent it to Zach Werdenberger, the biggest fan that I know, and he was like, "This is impossible. Like, nobody would get this." Yeah, maybe they're a little too hard. But maybe now I'm gonna make it, and then I'll send it to, if you want. I'm just gonna comment it on this podcast. So if you want,
do it. That's the way to do it.
I did make it, but he was like, "This is way too hard."
That's so funny.
If you're a super fan, listen.
If you're a Brandon Donlon level super fan,
which you're not out there, I know. There are none of you that are there.
There's one, and he's currently on this podcast right now. It's Brandon Donlon. Okay, we've got another question from Survivor Shallow. Are Tiff, Q, and Kenzie are Tiff, Q, and Kenzie come merge targets because of the targets Banu, are they screwed come merge? I skipped a word there. I'm so sorry. How are their prospects after the merge because of the target that was put on their backs?
They have to pray that the other tribes hate each other, which they did. Like, they kind of do. Yeah. So, like, if they can infiltrate, sure. But like the uphill battle is like there's 3 of them and there's everybody else. You know, if like, you know, they this most recent season these guys saw was season 44, where they see the Tika 3 get to the end of the game. So like if they have 3 of them enter the merge, like why would they let that happen again? Like it seems like counterintuitive, but it's like, again, it's a Bellows situation where if this, you know, Nami tribe, Sega seems like they're chilling, but if the Nami tribe can't get heads together, then like, you know, or if they have like a cross tribal thing happen where, you know, who knows, like a cross tribe thing. But I am worried. I would be worried for their chances. You know, I would really, and not for anything. I have thought that like Kenzie in particular, like they gave her a lot of negative in the pre-merge of somebody who like a JD. It just like, it feels like a nice pre-merge arc to, like, I said that on Gordon's podcast, is like JD is the first half of Survivor 41 and then he's not anymore. He's not there anymore. And I thought maybe that's Banu now. Maybe Banu got that like closing chapter, but I thought it was Kenzie. That whole, you know, the whole past couple episodes.
The whole bit. What do you think, Kara? Do you think that it's going to be hard for them come merge?
Yeah, I think it is going to be hard for them, but they could also maybe be in the best position depending on what happens. But I don't think it's going to be easy for the 3 of them. I think they're also 3 big personalities that, just going into it, I think it's just going to be tough for them. So
for sure.
I think that's also a very good point about their, you know, they're all big personalities and they all in their own right are targets and threats. You know, they're not they're not, you know, somebody's number 2 and I mean, they are somebody's number 2, but they also are all each other's number 1s. You know what I mean? So it's, I think that's a very good point. Chris commented saying, I don't think any of them are winning now. We have seen them all on too negative of a light in the edit. Plus Kenzie has a huge target amongst the rest of the cast. Yeah. Calling somebody mastermind in Survivor is like a backhanded compliment almost.
Yeah. You know, my winner pick was Tim. And right now I'm not feeling too hot about the Tim pick, but I've moved, and I think the winner's on that tribe. I have a Siegel winner in my head. And I said this again last week, but I think it's Jem. I think that
Jem?
I think Jem
Ooh.
Jem got a, and I'm still stuck on it, and I should have gone back and listened to what it was, but Jem has such a good winner's confessional in the first episode, and I forget what exactly it was, but it was like, it was good. And you know, and I just like, she had a quiet couple weeks, but like, you have to, because it's the Yanu show. Like that's not an indicator for anybody else that the winner is not on a different tribe. And hopefully she seals a deal with his idol. But I think that I feel good.
My conspiracy theory is in 45, when there was a reference to a previous season. It was when Austin was talking about Boston Rob and Amber, and he was like, you know, how cool would it be if you and I are Boston Rob and Amber? And then he goes to final 3 and loses to D. So my current conspiracy theory is that when Charlie and Maria compared themselves to Malcolm and Denise, those two are going to go to the end, and Maria is going to win because she is the Denise in that situation. So that's my current conspiracy theory.
You know what? And not for anything, and not that we're reading into things that are on social media, but the Survivor Instagram account posted, you know, that how they're posting every day something that happens in the episode from the prior season. They made it, the Malcolm and Denise thing is canon. They posted Malcolm and Denise. Like that is Survivor canon. But I love that. I haven't put that together in my head. I love that.
That's good.
That's
and
my
Maria
little
also, we didn't talk about it, but Maria had a fantastic backstory as well. I thought that was awesome.
I loved it. And can I also say, while we're talking about Maria really quickly, there was a moment, her job is like, she trains parents basically. And there was a moment when they were all teaching Mariah how to jump basically. And she was like, but you have so many other great things. And if this is one thing that we have to work on, this is great. Or she said something, and I was like, that's such a wonderful, gentle parenting technique of I could totally see her teaching that to a parent. And I was like, she has maybe one of the best jobs to come into Survivor with, because you not only teach people, but you also have to work with people who are maybe so set in their ways, and you have to kind of figure out a way for them to change their idea or move what they're doing. I'm really high on Maria right now. Do you have a winner pick right now, Kara? Because I know yours was Jelinski.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Long may he reign.
I don't know if I should name someone else.
It's okay. Last season, I had a winner pick, and then it was like every single time I changed it, the person that I changed it to went out that day.
Who was it first?
Who was it first? Oh, it was Caleb. So I was good into the merge.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, I think I said Kelly. And then I said, I think I even said Kendra. Like, I literally think I went in the order.
Yeah, that happens, you know. And not to circle back to a prior conversation, but I think what helped Caleb and Emily once we got to the mergatory situation for them is that they had swaps with other folks that they could integrate with, and I think that also helped Malcolm and Denise, who come, you know, with different people. And like, if there's not a swap, that's not good for these guys. Like, I think that they need to meet other people, like baseline they have to meet other people. If they don't meet other people, there is no reason that the other 9-10 of them won't just like and then cut, like you know. But they need to
swap.
Well said. Yeah, we need to swap.
And granted, they voted out Caleb right then and there anyway, but like it wasn't always Caleb. Like, there were different names, and they just it landed on Caleb. But Emily Emily ingratiated herself beautifully with the new bellow. But I do think they gotta meet some folks. I just
absolutely
brain blasted. I needed to get that out there.
Absolutely. Kara, who did you say who your winner pick was? I can't remember.
I'm liking Ben a lot. I don't know if he's gonna win, but I like him, so I think I'm gonna go with him.
Okay, cool. Well, speaking of Kara, it is time to talk about Kara's sweet thing of the episode. Kara, why don't you tell any new listeners what is the sweet thing?
Okay, so I have a podcast with my cousin Kateri called the Sweet Things Podcast, and at the end of every episode, we say what our sweet thing of the week is, and it's usually like food, like candy, a snack, something like that. So for this week, my sweet thing is when Soda was talking about the flags on the tribe, and she mentioned that the little ones look like pizza. That stuck out to me, and the little pizza flags are my sweet thing this week.
That's so good.
Love that.
Yeah, that's so good. Brandon, do you have a sweet thing?
I have this Coke Zero that I guess
Perfect.
is not sweet. I mean, I guess it's aspartame. But Hannah Rose was somewhere and then brought me this because this is not in English. I forget where
Well,
this
that's
is from,
cool.
but she brought me this right when she was in Greece when we got right back from Survivor. And so I guess this is Greece. And this is my favorite. Coke Zero is my literal favorite thing in the world. And then she brought me this, and now it sits on my desk. So this is
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
perfect.
That is perfect.
Shout out to Hannah Rose.
Hannah Rose. Okay, now I know we are all very excited for this moment. It's time for awards season. As always, we finish it off with a Social Butterfly Award. If you are new to the podcast, the Social Butterfly is somebody that we think had the best social game just this episode, not all 4 episodes, just this one episode. And so I don't know.
Oh no, Kara, we're driving. This is a disaster. Is this Randon? Did her thing hurt? Like, does she have a sprained disc?
Okay, so should we just do it? Should we just say who
we're here now. I made the final 2. I've never done this before. This is crazy.
Okay.
I have mine. Do you have yours?
Okay, no, you go. You're the guest. You go first.
What? Kara, listen. What I think, like when I was prompted with this, the first 2 thoughts I had were Q and Kenzie. Like Kenzie, you get to see have a moment where she kind of, she said snaps to Banu. I wouldn't have even called that a snap, but I guess maybe it felt more like a snap in the moment. And then she like beautifully recovers, which I think like Kenzie would be my natural answer to this question. However, I gave this to the person who did not ever snap in the first place, who was kind of, even keel throughout. And I wrote it down, and Q is my social butterfly of the week. Q is and I don't think I talked about him enough during this podcast. I love this guy. I love this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had so much fun watching somebody on Survivor like way before I was on it. I'm obsessed with everything about him. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I hope that he's in this for the long run. I don't know if he's going to win, but I want him as far as possible. Oh, and look who's back.
Welcome back.
All of a sudden, my screen goes black, and I'm like, we're under attack. What's going on? My computer died. I had no idea. My computer was almost dead. I literally was like, I am literally under attack right now. Okay, I'm so sorry. Did not mean to interrupt. I'm back. Can you guys say who it was?
I picked Banu for. I'm kidding. No, I didn't. I picked. Q.
I was going with it. I was like, sure.
No. I picked.
Q was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one. It's a good pick.
Reasoning being, which I just told Kara, that like Kenzie had a beautiful social moment, but it was after she like had a what she referred to as like a snap at Banu. Q didn't do that. Q was just kind of even the whole time. So I feel like they would be my 2 contenders, and I will give this to Q. And I love Q. I talked a lot about how I love Q.
Q's incredible.
Yeah.
Kara, did you choose Q too?
No, I didn't go yet.
Go.
But okay, I the whole time I was thinking I was gonna say Gem, and I think I'm still sticking with Gem because I think her move with the Beware advantage was a big social thing. I think that was, and that like it was social because it caused like a lot of chaos on the tribe. It caused everyone to come together and look for it and do all of that. But my other like person I was thinking of was Tiffany, because I feel like the way she handled Banu and everything, at like the way she was just talking with him and working with him, and even at the tribal council, like how she was with him, I think she was just great. So I think she has a good social game just overall.
I agree. I think that makes total sense. I think I might give it to Q again this episode. I think I've given it to Q like 9 times, like literally every single episode except for maybe 1. He's just, I think, playing a very great like social game. And I think he's just, I don't know, he's incredible. But you know what? I'm going to go on a limb and not do Q. You know who I'm going to say? I'm going to say Maria.
Love it.
Because I think obviously we don't have a lot of time on her tribe, but I really think that like I like what she's saying when she talks to people. I like the energy that she brings in her conversations. And I really think that like I'm seeing her. She was also talking, with Jem about, Tim with Mariah and all that stuff. And I feel good about Maria, and I feel good about specifically her social game. And let me say the other person I was thinking about was Soda, because she was literally discussed. Like they were saying like, oh, she's too social.
She's social, yeah.
She's so social. But I think that's the beauty and the difficulty of a social game, because you have to be good, but also not as overt with it. Yeah. And I think she's almost so good socially that it's now hurting her. Obviously, her name has come up, so that's why I didn't go with Soda to begin with or to end with. But congratulations to the winners of the Social Butterfly Award.
Love it.
Now, I just want to say thank you. First of all, thank you, Brandon, for coming and chatting with us. It's always so much fun to talk with people who have been on Survivor and somebody who's so incredible as you. It's so much fun to have on here. Thank you so much for taking time. And
thank you for having me. This is so much fun. I'm so glad to have gotten to chat. My favorite thing in the world. I can't believe I get to talk about it.
Now I always like to ask, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Are you doing anything that you want to use this platform to talk about?
No, I've had in my little display thing Zach Wirt on X this whole time, which has made me laugh. But I get you can follow me on Twitter at Brandon Donlon if you want. Follow me on Instagram, Brandon. Like you know where to find me. You all know I'm very accessible. It's crazy. I'll come pick you up at the airport. Like it is so crazy how accessible I am. But I got nothing. I mean, I just like keep watching the show. It's so good. And stop it. Oh my God, listen, Chris Dixon. That's so flattering. I think that like this is the best show on TV, and like even when it's not, like if you like don't love it, just give it time. Like let her cook. She's gonna get there. I promise you, she's gonna get there. I hope. I mean, if it doesn't, then like I'm sorry. But, like I hope it gets better. Like I understand it's not that great. I understand. Like I understand there are seasons that are better. But there's also seasons that are worse. There's seasons that are much worse. We're chilling right now.
The great seasons are only great if there are also really like wild seasons that you look at and you're like, what? Like Gabon is beautifully, incredibly weird and such a beautiful like little moment, but it's not because it's the greatest strategic season.
Yeah.
So not every season is strategic. Everyone.
Not for anything. Like social media would have hated Gabon. Like social media would have hated like a lot of seasons that are like that now are like looked at as like we love them, So keep that in mind and watch the show and be nice. Like it's we're like, and I'm again, you don't have to be nice. Like listen, I'm chilling, but like be nice to the people who are like in it, because it's very hard to be in it. It's like it's so much harder than to be in it than I ever thought it was going to be. Like, and I had met people before I was ever on Survivor that said it was hard. I'm like, it can't be that hard. It's really, really, really hard. So yeah, give grace and like, again, what I said earlier, like send love to Banu, please. DM him, comment on his Instagram, like do something, like make contact. If you feel any positive about Banu, like just tell him something that you liked. Cause again, he said it, 100 times. Like he really wanted to win the hearts. Go give him, collect them. Let him collect them. Send him one,
One of his mine.
Yeah. He had a very nice thing in Dalton's interview or Mike's interview. Maybe Mike. No, Dalton's. Where he said that he saw a tweet or he saw some post somewhere that like some 7-year-old was watching and was like, why are they voting off Banu? He hasn't gotten enough hearts or something. Like that's what the interview ended on, Dalton's interview. And like again, I watched the same show that everybody else did. You both did as well. Like we get it. We know. And like, you don't have to talk about it. Like, or you can talk about it. Talk about it critically. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like him. You can hate him. Just don't be a dick. Right?
Don't be rude about it. Yeah.
And I say don't be a dick because it's all men who do this. It's not. There's no women who do this.
I would say on my TikTok there are some women. There are some women.
They're not contacted. It's all every mean message I've ever gotten is like,
they're in my comments. Trust me, they're making up for it.
She's great. But that's my platform that I'm running on is being very nice to Banu. That's all I have, and I'm now done.
Incredible. Well, again, thank you everyone for watching. And Kara, where can I like to make sure that where can people find you and when's your Sweet Things pod so people can listen?
Yeah, you can find me at XOX_Kara on Instagram, at Sweet Things Podcast on Instagram. New episodes every Thursday. Usually, if we are able to do that, they come out on Thursdays. And yeah, it was so great talking to you, Brandon. And I hope Banu is selling t-shirts with the Million Hearts phrase on it. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Put it on a little pocket, like something like a million hearts. I would buy that.
Heart, like
yeah.
Honestly,
Banu sell that.
Tag with you can make that.
Yeah, you take that idea.
I know it's Banu's thing. Banu's thing.
Let's just cut this word to make. Anyway, it's been great to be here on the podcast.
And so everyone, thank you so much for watching live. As always, with Survivor Socials every Thursday at 9 p.m. But this week still has a lot of incredible stuff coming up. Stock Watch is tomorrow with Troy Zan. Like I'm so excited to listen to that. And then got something for you on Saturday with Jerry Manthe. I'm literally dead. I'm dead.
Crazy.
I cannot believe that. I don't know. Jerry's just so incredible. She's one of my favorites ever. So go listen to that on Saturday, please. It's going to be incredible. And just remember to like and subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. And see you all next week. Enjoy Survivor and stay social. Thank you guys.
Woo.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry, I died in the middle.